An army is loud. The thunderous sounds of thousands of boots marching together, siege weapons rolling across dirt tracks, the drums of war and marching calls sound out throughout the lines of the Draconian army. The Cathedral of the Silver Light is surrounded, almost as if an invisible line has been drawn at the edges of the cathedral grounds. Dragons swoop through the skies, ringing the cathedral like vultures surrounding a dying man. At the head of the great host, sitting atop a throne of obsidian and bone, sits the humanoid figure of Thawran the Red. An almost invisible crown of flame surrounds his head, where two massive horns protrude. He leans on his throne as it approaches the very edge of the wards that protect the cathedral. At the foot of the throne stand two figures, familiar to many of the Ashen Guard. Vengerstock, the bone-forged betrayer, stands with folded arms, while the Fire Ganassi Drift nervously picks at the glove of his left hand. "The time has come," Thawran declares, sitting up in the throne. "Is your weapon ready, Vengerstock?" The bone-forged nods and bows to Thawran. Meanwhile, deep below the cathedral, Mendy and Robb, Mendy, and the head of Astinus the Wise frantically search the chamber in the heart of the cathedral. Silvery blue crystals pierce through the walls of the room, with a massive 8-foot-tall crystal that hums quietly in the center of the chamber. Pipes and wires protrude from the huge chunk of what appears to be concentrated silver draconite, which leads to a dais on the far side of the chamber, with keys like a massive pipe organ. Robb slams his hand into the side of a nearby desk. "Why won't it start?" he growls. "The key, Robb," Astinus sighs. "We are missing the key." The heroes of the Ashen Guard stand ready at the doors of the cathedral, weapons prepared, as they observe the Draconian hordes across the cathedral grounds. Suddenly, the ground beneath them begins to shift. A massive tremor that rumbles the earth, and a huge construct bursts from the ground behind the throne of Thawran, giving out a metallic roar. This is it. Vengerstock's weapon, the core worm. "Will the wards hold?" Red Tusk asks, an arrow notched in his longbow. Kulgor, the Seeker, gasps. "That thing it eats magic." The chamber of the heart shakes at the tremors caused by the core worm. "Astinus, we need to do something!" Robb exclaims. Mendy's eyes turn to the central crystal in the chamber. Her head turns to one side, as if she is listening to a voice far away. She takes a deep breath and grasps her holy symbol. The metallic dragon reflects the silvery blue light of the chamber and seems to be warm to her touch. "I know what must be done," she says. Robb turns from the dais to see Mendy taking several steps backwards from the center of the room. "Mendy?" he asks. Mendy turns to the two of them. Silvery blue tears sparkle on the edge of her eyes. "Tell Boyo," she starts, before another tremor rocks the chamber back and forth. The Ashen Guard watch as the massive worm slams into an invisible barrier. Its maw is filled with rotating mechanisms that spark with arcane light as it hurls itself into the wards. In midair, silvery cracks appear suspended. The wards begin to buckle as the worm hurls itself into the wards again and again. Time slows down. A fractious, silvery moment. Mendy hurls herself at the central crystal. Her body flashes for an instant, transforming into a blue and silver energy that shoots arcs of radiant lightning out across the chamber of the heart. The worm above smashes through the ancient wards in a rainbow, shimmering energy, with broken stained glass exploding inwards as the construct thrusts itself through the air and into the ground below. Below it, through the gap, hordes of Draconians begin to funnel. The Ashen Guard raise their weapons. Battle cries are hurled into the air as they await the horde that rushes towards them. There is a sound, a massive, final cluck. Robb blinks. Mendy is gone. The central draconite crackles with energy as the walls of the chamber of the heart begin to move. Gears, cogs, and machinery begin to power up through the room as the keyboard also begins to light up. "Astinus, what? Press something! Anything!" Astinus yells. The lines of battle slowly advance as time moves like trees. From the ground near the cathedral, the core worm bursts through the surface, its maw ready to slam into the walls of the mighty building. A second tremor, as from below the head of the worm, a massive stone hand explodes from the earth and grabs its head. A third tremor, as another massive stone hand bursts out. The Ashen Guard stand, stunned, as blue and silver crystals begin to grow around the cathedral, as the right hand of the cathedral smashes into the face of the core worm, which crumples beneath it. A cheer rings out from the Ashen Guard, as the two hands attach themselves to the sides of the cathedral building itself, pushing down on the ground as the cathedral slowly rises. The draconian horde falters, and of course, momentum being what it is, many soldiers slam into the ground as their comrades stop. A lone kobold looks up at the huge form that stands looming above the army. Crystals exude from where shoulders should be. Massive stone fingers flex, dropping fragments of the core worm's head down from it. Gears clunk and spin as cannons emerge from the windows of the cathedral, charging up with radiant light. Retreat! Thawran's eyes widen as beams of radiant energy streak from the cathedral, pounding into the draconian hordes, slamming into the dragons that wheel overhead. Get us out of here, he roars, and Drift grabs the edge of the throne and begins casting a teleportation spell. A streak of silver radiant light screams towards the betrayer as he utters a single word, Arianwin. The draconians scatter as smoke and dust begin to clear from the crater where the throne of Thawran sat. The cathedral stands in the light, turns to the east, and takes its first step.